Hi guys, it's Mark here again from Safe Drone Academy, and today our video is going to look at the open category of the forthcoming European drone regulation. Will you be able to use it as an operator? Will you be able to use your drones in there? What are the limitations on operations if you want to operate within the open category? If this sort of information you think is useful to you, I'm sure you're going to find some answers to some of the questions you might have. So please do stay tuned. Now guys, the open category under the European drone regulations is a very interesting category. Okay, you will be able to conduct both recreational flying and commercial flying within this category. There are limitations on there, but basically the open category should allow a huge majority of people actually conduct drone operations throughout all of the EU. The basic restrictions on you are that one, you must always maintain visual line of sight with your drone. That's not a big change from the current national regulations that you're probably used to. The next thing is you're only allowed to use drones that are a max of 25 kgs. Again, not a big deal. The next limitation is you are limited to flight only below 120 meters above ground level. There are some situations where you can go above that, but for the most part, if you take it that below 120 meters AGL is where you're limited to. So there's quite a lot of scope to do stuff within this category. Thankfully, EASA have brought out a little guide to the use cases of the category, and it's that guide that I'm now going to go through in a little bit of detail to hopefully start to answer some of the questions that you might have.
Hi guys, and this is the document I was speaking of that EASA have brought out, which is basically a quick reference document to provide some of the basic information you'll find in the regulation about the open category. EASA have brought it out probably because they believe a lot of people operating in the open category will be recreational pilots and might not be minded to reading the entire regulatory document itself. So this quick reference document should help them glean most of the information they need for operating in the open category. The document itself looks a little bit daunting initially as you look at it, but it's actually straightforward enough, and it's broken down into basically some columns and rows. If there's a column here on operation, which is further subdivided into subcategory and operating area information. We have a column dealing with unmanned aircraft systems that again is subdivided into a class of drone being used, the mass, kinetic energy and speed of the drone being used, and any operating date limitations on the use of that drone in a particular subcategory. There's a column under UAS operator, which deals with registration requirements, and then finally there's a column on the remote pilot that looks at any age restrictions on the remote pilot and any competency requirements of your pilots. So the subcategories in the open category, there's basically three of them. There's the A1 subcategory, A2 and A3. Now the operational restrictions applicable to all three of those subcategories includes a maximum flying height of 120 meters, which is 400 feet above the surface of the Earth. You can go a little bit higher than that if you follow the guidance under UAS.open.010 points 3 and 4. You cannot conduct operations in the open category if you want to drop articles from your drone, and you cannot conduct operations in the open category if you want to carry dangerous goods. You'll also recall that the restriction of only being allowed to fly visual line of sight applies, and you cannot use a drone that weighs more than 25 kgs. There's also a restriction on, possibly a restriction, on where you can fly your drone. So national authorities are required to outline any geographic areas that they will forbid the flying of drones, which might include drone operations in the open category. So we're talking about, airports, airfields, prisons, hospitals, different types of airspace such as controlled airspace, restricted airspace, danger airspace. All these geographical areas may or may not be out of bounds to drone operations in the open category. You'll need to check with your national authority and your national regulations to figure out if these restrictions apply, because it's up to each individual state to outline these restrictions. Now, the A1 subcategory is further subdivided into two different sections. Section 1 basically allows flight over uninvolved people but not over crowds. And this, I guess, is quite unique under the European system in that a lot of national regulations prohibit the flight of overhead people altogether. But under these new European rules, we are allowed to fly over uninvolved people, which is people not directly in our control, but not over crowds. And we can do so when we're using the following types of drone. Basically, a privately built drone that has a maximum takeoff weight of less than 250 grams and a maximum speed of less than 19 meters per second. If you're using that type of drone, you can operate in this subcategory indefinitely. You're only required to register if there's a camera on your drone, and the minimum age for a privately built drone in terms of the remote pilot flying the drone is there's no restrictions, and their competency is basically to read the user manual. You may also fly in the same category if you're using a legacy drone, which is basically a drone that doesn't meet the European CE class rating. So a drone that was placed on the market before the 1st of July 22. These types of legacy drones, such as the DJI Mavic Mini, that have a maximum takeoff mass of less than 250 grams, can be used in this A1 subcategory. There's no restrictions. You can operate in this category indefinitely. Again, the registration requirements are there, but only if the drone is camera equipped. If you're using a legacy drone such as the Mavic Mini, you have a minimum age there of 16 unless it's reduced by the state, and states can reduce that age by up to 4 years. And again, using this type of legacy drone, you must read the user manual is the only competency requirement of your pilots. Now, if there was a drone on the market that had a C0 class rating, well then the C0 class of drone could be used in this A1 category as well. A C0 class of drone, when they do come on the market, will have a maximum takeoff weight of less than 250 grams and a maximum speed of less than or equal to 19 meters per second, so just over 40 miles per hour. Again, with this class of drone, there's no date restrictions. Again, the registration requirements are the same. There are some age restrictions depending on whether your class of drone is, or your class 0 drone is considered a toy or not. If it's not a toy, there's a little bit more involvement in terms of training. So the competency of your pilot must be assured through ensuring they have read the user manual, conducting the basic online training course, and taking the online foundation test, which is basically a 40-question multiple choice exam. Now, the A1 subcategory, which allows no intentional flight over uninvolved persons. Well, basically, if you're using a drone that has a C1 class rating, and again in March 2020, there's no drones on the market that have that C1 class rating, but if you did have a C1 class rating drone, you could operate in the A1 subcategory, but not flying intentionally overhead people. These drones will weigh less than 900 grams or have an energy rating of less than 80 joules. There are no restrictions in terms of how long you can use that drone in that A1 subcategory. The registration is required. There's the age requirements, and basically the training required for your remote pilots is to read the manual, take the online course, and take the online test. Now, if you do have a legacy drone that weighs less than 500 grams, so we're thinking about the DJI Spark or the Mavic Air, these drones weighing less than 500 grams can be used in this A1 subcategory with no unintentional flight over uninvolved persons, but you can only use this drone or these drones in this subcategory up until the 30th of June 2022, after which you must move to the A3 subcategory. Again, registration is required and your age restrictions are there, and basically the competency is to be defined by the state. So each national authority will need to define what level of competency they require of pilots using legacy drones that weigh less than 500 grams. Moving on then to the A2 subcategory, again it's subdivided into two different areas. Basically the first area is you're allowed to fly no closer than 30 meters horizontally from uninvolved persons, but you can get as low as 5 meters in a low speed mode if your drone has a low speed mode. And these drones that have a class 2 rating would be one such drone that could be used in this A2 subcategory. These class 2 drones will weigh no more than have a maximum takeoff weight of 4 kgs. There's no restrictions in terms of how long they can operate in this A2 subcategory, and the UAS operator is required to register that drone. They're the age restrictions, and this time the training is a little bit more involved due to the fact that you can fly a reasonably heavy drone so close to people. There's further training required, so you're required to read the user manual, conduct the online training and the online foundation test as per the A1 subcategory, but you must also declare that you've conducted training, and this training must be conducted 150 meters away from residential, commercial, recreation and industrial areas. So you must self practice and declare you have self practice, and additionally you must take the further training course, which can be online or classroom based, and the further exam, which is an additional 30 questions above the 40 question exam here. After this you get a certificate of competency. That's what CFC means. So to operate in the A2 subcategory, ultimately you're going to end up with this certificate of competency, which is issued to you by either the training establishment that you conducted the training with or by the national authority. Now you can operate in the A2 subcategory and fly no closer than 50 meters horizontally from uninvolved persons. This is when you're using a legacy drone that has a maximum takeoff weight of less than 2 kg. So Mavic Air, Platinum, the Phantom series, the Mavic 2 series are all types of drones that can be operated in the A2 subcategory, but only until the 30th of June 2022, and after this date they must move into the A3 subcategory. Again, the registration requirements are there, the age requirements are there, and the training is as per explained earlier on. Finally then, the A3 subcategory, basically it is a category of operation that allows no uninvolved people to be present within your flying area, and your flying area must be at least 150 meters horizontally from residential, commercial, industrial or recreational areas. So within your flying area that's 150 meters removed from those areas, you reasonably expect no uninvolved people to be there. Now you can do this with a number of different classes of drones. The C3 and the C4 CE class of drones, or a privately built drone that all weigh less than 25 kg. There's no restrictions on operations in that A3 category. There are registration requirements, there are minimum age requirements, and as you're so far away from people, the competency of your remote pilots in terms of their theory is a little bit reduced again from the A2 subcategory and more in line with the A1 subcategory. Again, if you have a legacy drone that weighs between 2 kg and less than 25 kg, well, you can continue to operate that legacy drone. So we're talking about the DJI Inspire series, the DJI Inspire 2, the Matrice drones, and any of those drones that are out there that weigh between 2 and 25 kg. You can use those drones in the A3 subcategory up until the 30th of June 2022. You must register as an operator, you must meet the minimum age and the training requirements. Now after the 30th of June 2022, you can continue to operate in the A3 subcategory because Article 20 of the regulation actually allows legacy drones that basically weigh greater than 250 grams and less than 25 kgs can continue to operate in the A3 subcategory after the 1st of July 2022. So all your legacy drones that you're using today, the Mavic or the DJI Spark, the Mavic Air, the Pro, the Mavic Platinum, the Mavic 2 series, the Phantom series, the Inspire series, the Matrice series, on and after the 1st of July 2022, all those drones are restricted to operating in the A3 subcategory, which is quite a restriction compared to the way you might be operating that drone today, or in comparison to the various drones that meet the European CE standard and have a class rating. So guys, hopefully this has explained the open category in a bit of detail. There's obviously a lot of information in there and some of you might have questions on that. Please do leave questions in the comment section below or contact us at safedrone.ie if you have any queries you'd like to put to us. But for now, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I know it was a little bit lengthy, but there's a lot of information in there. Hopefully you got something from it. We look forward to seeing you again, and hopefully that's very soon. Take care and bye bye.